This weekend, we change the clocks once again. Yes, we get that lovely hour of extra sleep, but for parents, the time change can bring on so much anxiety. How do we adjust our kids to that time change, especially if you're all about routine? That was me. This is something I really struggled with, even now with my littles, but even more so when you have babies, trying to keep them in that routine. So we brought in an expert to walk us through all of it, Lindsay Birchfield. She is a certified pediatric sleep specialist with Parenting Practice. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
It really is wild to me that this can affect our lives so much and our sleep so much when we get an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Talk about why that happens.
Yeah, so our body actually doesn't run on a clock. Rather, it runs off of the sunlight. So when we fall back, we actually have the sun that rises earlier and it sets earlier. So we don't have that body clock set anymore. So because of that, you're gonna get things like bedtime resistance, early mornings, and then just some crankiness, right?
I can't do the early mornings on my weekends. Like, give me all the tips. First, how long does it take kids to actually adjust to this 1 hour time change?
Yeah, so I really love this question. So it should take about 3 to 5 days to do that change. And for our little ones, think toddlers, preschoolers, it might last a little bit longer just because they're so sensitive to that change. But if you are still seeing issues 7, 10 days after that change, then there's probably something deeper going on and you need to look into their sleep a little bit more.
Okay. So talk a little bit about how parents can make this transition easier. So you're saying there's kind of 2 ways to go about this.
There is 2 ways, yes. But on top of just those 2 ways, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. Also, and probably the most important that people don't know about is sunlight exposure.
Okay.
So morning sunlight exposure is the best way to reset your internal clock. So 10, 30 minutes after your child wakes, you want to go outside and you want to actually have them just view natural sunlight. And that's a wonderful way to do an internal body clock reset. Also, consistency is important. So if you have a bedtime routine, stick to the routine. Keep doing that. And then there's these 2 approaches that we can take to kind of gradually make the shift so it doesn't feel so shocking to the body. So the first one is going to be the proactive approach. The fun thing about this is that if a parent wants to start tonight, this is the night you'd start. So you're gonna take naps and bedtime and you're gonna push them back by 15 minutes each day until the daylight savings happens. So for example, you have a kiddo, they go to bed at 7 p.m. Tonight you're gonna put them down at 7:15. And then 7:30, then 7:45. Then when daylight savings happens, you go back to putting down at 7. It's gonna feel like 8, but because you did that gradual shift, their body will be ready. So that's that first one. The second one is the one that I like to do, which is split the difference. I like to do this with my family just because I don't want to worry about it, to be honest. So once daylight savings happens, what you will do is that night, and for naps and for bedtime and even for mornings, you're going to want to split the difference. Meaning if the child goes to bed normally at 7, you now are going to have them go to bed around 6:30 so that, again, it's not that full hour push. So you're going to do that for 3 days, and then after that, you go back to 7. Now the same thing is going to happen for your mornings as well. So with mornings, the way that that can work is that they're going to probably wake up a little bit early simply because that's the way their body clock is set. So what you can do is you can just push back their mornings by 15 minutes every single day until you get to really probably more like a 7 a.m. wake up time.
I love that. So you talked about the sunlight, which is so important first thing in the morning, but you're talking about bedtime routines, and sometimes that can be the triggering thing to make them sleepy.
Absolutely. Yes. So we love a bedtime routine here at Parenting Practice. We'll talk about them from birth on, right? Because what it does is it helps that child's body to wind down. So even if the clock doesn't look exactly or the time doesn't look exactly right, just going through those consistent steps is really going to help that child to be able to wind down. So I love 20 to 30 minutes. Think bath, PJs, connection time, story, and into bed, and it's going to cue their body. You can also help a little bit with this with doing wind down things like dimming the lights or totally turning off all electronics 1 hour before bed. That's going to bring some melatonin on and it's going to help them drift off really easily.
I'm such a believer in routine and consistency, but give yourself grace, parents. I know this is really hard.
Yeah.
You have some resources as well for parents who are like, I don't remember the steps, the 2 steps that you gave.
Right.
Like, where can they go for the resources?
Yeah, so we have an awesome freebie on our Instagram, so Parenting Practice Co. They can go and they can get that. It's going to talk about the different approaches that I talked about here. It's going to give a little bit more detail also about mornings, naps, and bedtime so that the transition goes easily.
You're helping out so many families right now. Lindsay, thank you so much for coming in.
Yes, thank you for having me.